So in this video we're going to try and solve this inequality here. So we've got x plus 1 over x squared minus 1 and x minus 2 over x squared minus 4. And we want this inequality, we want the values of x where this is true, where this one is greater than this one. Okay, now my first step in this would be to get everything all onto one side. So I'm going to bring this over to this side, and then everything then 0 will be greater than everything on this side. So let's try that. So now I've got x minus 2 over x squared minus 4, and then subtract this one, x plus 1 over x squared minus 1. My inequality sign will come down, and then because I've subtracted this, I'm now left with a 0 here. Okay, so with this bit on this side, I've got here x squared minus 4 and x squared minus 1. I can see they are a difference of 2 squares. So I want to take the square root of this one and the square root of that one to give me my two factors. So now I've got x minus 2, and then x squared minus 4 becomes x plus 2x minus 2. Square root of 4 is 2. That's that one. And then subtract this one, numerator stays, square root of 1 is 1, so now I've got just x plus 1, x minus 1. And then my inequality, so all of this is now less than 0. So when the values of x, that this is true, that's going to be my solution set. Okay, now we've factored this out, and we can see as our denominator is multiplied, the two terms, we can now cross cancel stuff out. So x minus 2 and x minus 2, they can cancel. That will leave me with a 1. And x plus 1, they can cancel. And that will also leave me with a 1 here. So now let's rewrite our inequality. So 1 over x plus 2 minus 1 over x minus 1. And then that's going to be less than 0. Okay. So we can still try and get this into terms with one fraction if we wish. So let's try and do that. So now if I multiply x minus 1 with this one and x plus 2 with this one, I'm then going to set up my fraction. So now common denominator, x plus 2, x minus 1. And then I've got this one will be multiplied by x minus 1. And then subtract 1 times x plus 2. So that's x plus 2. Okay, now my inequality side, that will stay. So that's going to be 0. So now let's bring this up to the top here. Let's see if we can simplify this off a little bit. So now I've got x minus 1. So let's deal with my x's. So I've got x minus x. So the x's are going to cancel. And I've got minus 1 minus 2. So now I've got minus 3 over x plus 2, x minus 1. And then that's got to be less than 0. Okay, so now I'm going to need to try and find my values of x. Now I could multiply this out if I wished, but as it's already factored, I'm going to take advantage of that and work out that if x is minus 2 and x is 1, this here will be undefined. So therefore x does not equal minus 2 and x does not equal plus 1. So that will make that an undefined term, so I can't use that. So now with my table of values, this is going to influence where my table of values will go. So let's start in with the positive on the right hand side. So plus 1 I can't include, so my first set I'm going to look at is 1 to positive infinity. So that's my first value of numbers I'm going to look at first. And then I'm going to look in between the two values, so minus 2 to plus 1. So I'll write that down as my second set there. And then from the minus sign, I'll go from negative infinity back to minus 2. So negative infinity to minus 2. So these are the values that I'm interested in. And then here, I'm just going to write minus 3 over x plus 2, x minus 1. So all I'm going to be interested in now is, because it's got to be 0 is going to be larger than, do I have a positive or negative in these values? If it's negative, this is negative here, then this inequality will be true. If this is positive, then the inequality will be false. Okay, so first of all, let's look inside these values. So the key here is to pick a value which is easy for your arithmetic. So I'm just going to pick -3. So if I let x equal -3, so then I will have -3 over -3 plus 2 times -3 minus 1. So what does this come out to? -3 plus 2 is -1. Then this comes out to -3 minus 1 is -4. Multiply those together. So if I multiply them, I get +4. So -3 over 4, that is negative. So in this term here, this term is negative. So there, this bit will be true. Okay, now what about here? So -2 to +1. Let's plug in a value here of 0. That's nice and easy for my arithmetic. So if x equals 0. So if x equals 0, I've got -3 over 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 1. Okay, so here I've got 2. This becomes -1. Multiply them together, I've got -2. This then becomes positive. So all these values in here will be positive. And then what about here? Well, from 1 to infinity, I'm just going to try the number 2. So if I let x equal 2, I've got -3 over 2 plus 2 times 2 minus 1. 2 plus 2 is 4, 2 minus 1 is 1, 4 times 1, which is 4. So this term here, everything will be negative. Okay. So, right, let's clear this off the board here with my calculations, and then we can draw up my final solution set. Okay, so I've got my solution set here where it's positive and negative. So the negative values for this function here is what I'm interested in. So this table of values is what my answer will be all about. This is where it'll all be derived. So the negative values for x is what I'm really interested in. So therefore my answer is, my x is in the set -infinity to -2 in union with 1 to infinity. That is my answer to where this inequality is true. Okay,